appreciate I'm relatively new to this debacle, and just by way of context, like my role previously in my day job was as head of football development for Surrey FA, where I supported a number of clubs and organisations to get 3G facilities. So I delivered 6 in 4 years, primarily using grant funding sources like the Football Foundation and Sport England. Whilst I was employed by Surrey FA, the opportunity to support a club just wasn't on the cards because of a conflict of interest. So having moved on over the festive period, getting in touch with Kevin, I'm here to support the club on this quest. So as a volunteer and as a local that lives in Kempshire, so hopefully that just gives you a bit of context. I guess just why is it needed? And I suppose there's the obvious part around the stadium being left to rot at the moment. And I'm sure when you pop out at the moment, you drive past it or whatever, and it obviously makes you think. Further to that, more strategically, there's an evidence-based need for the type of facilities that we're proposing. So unfortunately for us at the moment, the council, in informing their local plan, haven't conducted a playing pitch strategy, or should I say they did, but it was done in 2015 and we consider it quite out of date. Sport England methodology recommends that a playing pitch strategy is conducted within 3 years. The council are embarking on one, but in the absence of that, the FA have completed what's called a local football facilities plan that some of you might have heard of, LFFP, which essentially analyses the strategic need and demand for facilities within the borough. It kind of does what a playing pitch strategy will do. What the playing pitch strategy and LFFP show is a massive need for artificial pitches in the town. We also know from research conducted via the Football Foundation that participants will travel up to 20 minutes to access a 3G pitch. So we believe that an opportunity like this at the Camrose will be accessible for everybody in the town, even those that live in some of the surrounding villages that come under the borough. This would be in addition to Winklebury. There's still a need for these type of facilities, I must add. And of course, the 3G carpet was being laid at Winklebury prior to any conversation about the club actually playing there. We would still go a step further and say that LFFP I referred to is already slightly out of date, because it was conducted in the summer of 2020 and things have moved on quite considerably, even amongst the pandemic. So we've started to conduct some of our own evidence, which is fairly crude and anecdotal, but we've contacted all of the local facilities in the town and we're struggling to get some availability of pitches apart from, say, a Friday evening slot, which is possibly the most unpopular slot of the week in any 3G pitch. Away from the 3G, we know that there's a massive evidence of need for other health and wellbeing initiatives, as Steve and Kevin mentioned. So it sort of leads us towards the kind of proposition around having an artificial stadium pitch and some kind of clubhouse / meeting rooms facility. The clubhouse is crucial for the club, and I'll come back to that later. But equally, the other type of indoor facilities are really, really key. I should have added on the 3G pitch side of things, you're looking at kind of 70, 80 hours a week worth of usage, which is massively needed in the town of people taking part in, yes, football, but also other activities on the pitch. So we've had to carry out some of that evidence around why we feel it's needed, and we feel that there's a massive need within the town. As Steve's alluded to, there's a site already there that's been used for football for many, many years, therefore overcome some planning constraints in terms of floodlights and all the rest of it that you would get in other areas. I guess then it's why us and why the club, apart from the fact that this site has been the club's home for a number of years. The club do need a sustainable home. Winklebury is a great option for us at the minute. We're grateful to the council for supporting us to get back to the town, but inevitably the club needs a sustainable home to be sustainable. So where I mentioned the clubhouse earlier, that's one of the main sources of revenue for the club. And at the moment, we don't have that at all. We also need a sustainable home for the level of growth that we're expecting. So working with the guys on the board more recently, that there is sort of massive growth coming in other areas of the game away from just the men's first team. I think often it's associated that the club is the men's first team that plays on a Saturday, and historically that's been important, and of course it still is. But we have a women's first team that play on a Sunday, and we have many youth teams and aspirations to grow those youth teams and to have girls teams, etc., and have pathways and really be the main club in the town that the brand should demand. So we believe we need somewhere to facilitate that growth and those pathways. And at the minute, Winklebury doesn't offer us that. I think I remember one of the board members saying around one of our sides training in a third of the pitch at Winklebury, where really they should have more space. The brand of the club and its history has the capability to secure funds, we believe, from additional partners. And I suppose that's where I can come in with some experience, is that a club with the brand of Basingstoke will succeed other clubs locally, unfortunately, whether we like that or not, in the ability to secure grant funding. So I suppose what that means for our club is that we want to be in a position to go and do that, pull the funding down, run a facility, and then of course other clubs can use the site locally as well as ourselves, even though I've talked about our exponential growth. The club has obviously operated the site for years and had a track record of success at doing that. The club has the ability to have loads of partnerships, both on and off the pitch, many of which are already in place. And the club, with its new leadership and new board, is in a really good position to have the management structure to run such a facility, and crucially to ensure that the site is sustainable. One of the things we spoke to Mr. Rattigan about last night was that if any investment went into the site in any way, we would, and let's say we got our way and we were running it, we can't come back knocking on the door 5-10 years down the line and ask for more money. And I guess our response to that is we won't. We believe through our business planning that we'll be able to run it in a sustainable manner. So I guess why now? It's critical time now for the Camrose as it's being left to rot. The facility demand is now, and I guess to quote some of the stuff that's been in the local press around other options, they are many, many years away. We're talking about the demand needing to be met now, or as close to now as you can develop a facility, which, as Kev said, is in a few years. And lastly, how we are working on an emerging business plan. Unfortunately, that's not quite ready tonight. And actually, what we want is for you, and the conversation that we'll get to shortly, you to inform us on that, so that we don't leave any stone unturned. We believe that we have the capability within our team to deliver what the town needs. And we've got the capability to certainly do that, but we certainly seek councillor support in enabling us to do that, and then I guess feedback and nudges in the right sort of direction to make sure we don't miss anything. So we've got a business plan that is going to be crucial. The devil is going to be in that detail, and you will undoubtedly have seen the work that we're doing off the pitch in terms of a marketing campaign to drum up interest in this and to try and get the community support away from just the fan base of the club. And lastly, obviously, we're trying to seek political and local authority support from people like yourselves. So hopefully that gives you an overview of the type of thing we're proposing. It's still relatively early days. We haven't, of course, had the opportunity to do feasibility studies on the site to find out what we can and can't do. We haven't got too far down the road in terms of everything being tied up. It's fairly conceptual, but evidently there is a need, and the club believe that we're in the right position to do it. So hopefully with your support, we can.